right, hi guys, it's Katie here with Life the Mundane and welcome back to my channel. Today, as you can see, I have a very special guest. I have Terrie McKee with me, who is a speaker, a blogger, and an author, and also the creator of the Homeschooling Special Needs online conference, which I'm really excited to share with you guys a little bit more about that today. She is an amazing woman. I was reading up on her, just her testimony and learning more about her, and oh my goodness, she is a living, walking, breathing testimony for Christ, and it has very little to do with the amazing accomplishments that she has accomplished, even though there have been many, but it has so much to do with her giving God the glory and pointing out his goodness in the midst of many trials. And I'm really excited to have you on here today. I wish we could do a whole life story thing because I feel like it would be amazing, but be sure to check blog and her book. I will link those down in the comments below so that you guys can check those out because it's just amazing story. Today we're going to be talking specifically about homeschooling special needs. I know especially with COVID, there's a lot of you guys that are considering it and overwhelmed at the thought of it. So we're going to be talking about a few of you guys' frequently asked questions and getting Terri's amazing perspective on it. Terri, would you kind of share with us briefly kind of what's your experience been with homeschooling in particular?
Sure. I've been homeschooling now for about 3 years in total. My son, I have 4 special needs children. 3 are adults and out of the house. And the last one is 10 years old. And she's the one I'm focusing on homeschooling now. But she has dyslexia and chronic migraines. She was diagnosed at 4 years old with migraines and ADHD. So she is like a hyper little bunny rabbit.
Oh my goodness.
But my oldest son, my oldest child, Sam, will be 26 in September, and that just kind of blows my mind right there. But he has autism and bipolar disorder and learning disabilities. And I actually homeschooled him for the last semester of his senior year in high school. He had some behavior issues with bullying, being bullied in public schools, and I did not officially, withdraw him. It was more like a home-based education. That was, the school gave me the curriculum, but I didn't stop there with him. I knew that he was capable of so much more than what they were alluding to in the classroom. And so I borrowed, and they had him still doing like 3rd grade math.
Oh, wow.
12th grade.
Yeah.
And he was acting out because he was bored. He was bored to tears with menu math, which is great when you're in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
But, but he was in 12th grade. And so I borrowed an Algebra 1 book and introduced him to the mystery of algebra. And he thought he was like discovering code. And it was just amazing to him that 3x equals 12. And what does that X mean? And it was eye-opening for me that I could actually teach him and he could actually learn without stress and without drama and without being bullied.
Yeah.
But my other 2 children with special needs are my son Jacob, who's 22, and he has severe ADHD, but he is out on his own and with an amazing woman, and they're talking marriage, and I'm so happy about that. And then my bonus daughter, I call her, she's my stepdaughter, but we don't use the term step or half in our home. She's my daughter, and she was married in 2018. She's been married almost 2 years now.
Oh,
to a
fun.
wonderful guy. Love him so much, but she has juvenile diabetes.
Okay.
And was diagnosed at 4 years old.
Oh, wow.
So we've run the gambit from intellectual disabilities through to medical disabilities with the chronic migraines and the diabetes. And then put the cherry on top, so to speak, of disabilities. In 2015, my husband was paralyzed in an attempted armed robbery at a North Carolina rest area. He went in to use the restroom, and two guys were in there, or went in there after him and shot him, point blank range. But he lived, but he's now in a wheelchair full time, does not have the use of his lower part of his body from waist down. So that's just added more opportunities for God's grace.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, so with having said all that, God just really laid it on my heart that he does not waste anything. Mm-hmm. You know, he does not waste any trials or tribulations he puts we go through. So he just kind of just revealed in his word one night to me that even as Mephibosheth, I think is his name, it's like, I don't know why they have to give all these biblical names, 10 miles long, and you can't pronounce them no matter who you are.
Yeah.
Throw dyslexia out the window, and oh my goodness. And but when Mephibosheth came before David and ate at his table, that just really was eye-opening to me, that we need to just invite disabled people to eat at a figurative table. And always with disabled children or children with special needs, you have their parents. When you have homeschooling parents, they're not just being special needs parents, they're being homeschool special needs teachers. Mm-hmm. And just like I felt like when I had little ones, and with my son Sam, who has autism especially, when he was little, there were so many resources available to him and to me. There are all kinds of things, but as the older he got, they just dried up.
Yeah.
And now that he's 20, almost 26, they're non-existent.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to kind of follow God's lead on this and use all the resources I have within the blogging community. And I won't say my pool, because I don't have any pool. It's just Jesus, honestly. I mean, It's just Jesus. He created the idea for this conference. He flicked my head on it a couple times, and he put it into action. And it's just been amazing to just sit back and just watch him work this out.
Yeah, I am so excited. Like, I cannot wait at all. This is something I have been waiting for so long. Yeah. For those who don't know, we have 6 kids, 2 with special needs, but we run the gamut as well. We have autism and some intellectual learning disabilities with my son, and with my daughter, she has a genetic disorder, which results in hearing loss, juvenile arthritis, many other things. She had 16 surgeries before she turned 6.
Oh, mercy.
So it has been a roller coaster. And I've heard that from so many parents of the younger they are, the more resources they are. And then as they get older, it just gets harder and harder. And for homeschooling in particular, I feel like there's very few things out there, or the things that are out there are so hard to find or so above our cost level. Because especially parents, we have a lot of expenses. Yes. And so when I found your conference, this is the Homeschooling Special Needs Conference. You guys, I'll be sure to check it out. Even if you're watching this video later, there will be access to it later. Yes. So be sure to check it out down below. It's only $22, guys, for a lifetime access to this entire conference. And one of the featured speakers is my personal favorite, Temple Grandin. So I can't believe it. I'm so excited. As well as Duranda Wilson and so many other amazing speakers. And what I love is they're going to cover things from from like, how do you transition your kids from public school to homeschooling, and dealing with IEPs and all of that, but also dealing with how do you deal with high school issues and behavioral issues. And like, I don't know. I'm just really pumped about it if you can't tell. So thank you for following God's calling on that, because it's so, so needed. I was curious for you, what would you say to the parent, the homeschool parent who's like, I'm just not qualified. Like I would, that sounds nice and everything, but I'm not a teacher. I'm not qualified, or my favorite, I'm not patient enough.
Yes.
I love that one. I'm like, we have no extra patience.
Yes. We as a general rule in our house, we stopped praying for patience as a general rule, because every time I would do that, I would have another child. And I've stopped praying for patience. But 4 is great. 4 is plenty. God bless you who have 6 or more. I'm waiting on grandchildren. That's my redemption there. But no, what I would say to those parents are, you are the parent of the child, and no one knows that child better than you. And if you can sit in a meeting and go over with tons of people and go over an IEP that may or may not get your child the services he or she needs, then you're more than qualified to do the ultimate IEP, which is homeschool. IEP is for institutional learning. It's an individualized educational plan. And that means that gives the school system the directives, if you will, of how to individualize your child's education. Well, in homeschooling, that's all it is. Individualizing. And without, like one of Sam's special needs classrooms had, he was in a self-contained classroom at one time. It had 10 children in it, 10 special needs children. And like 5 of those had autism. 2 of those autistic children were nonverbal. So, and then there were other disabilities in that classroom as well. And so the teacher's attention was divided 10 ways.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, at least 10 ways, just the 10 children.
Yeah.
So you as a homeschooling parent, you're more than qualified to teach your own child, because if you could teach your child how to use a spoon, how to feed him or herself, or get dressed. And I know with autistic kids especially, and ADHD kids too, because I've had 2 boys with ADHD, keeping clothes on them.
Yeah, it's a real struggle.
That's a struggle. That is a struggle and a half. My daughter, Laura, who's 10, she has ADHD, and she changes her outfits like 15 times a day. I'm like, you changed again? And she said, well, yes. I was like, this is not Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
You do not have to change your outfit every time you go into a different room. But I digress. But you can most definitely teach your own children. And as far as people who criticize that choice, just remember you have the child's best interest in mind. And you know that child. Not even the grandparent knows the child like you do. So absolutely you can homeschool your child.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I love that concept of advocating. I mean, that's what we're taught as special needs parents, no matter what schooling choice we're taught, or what we pick, we're always taught, advocate for your kid. No one's better at advocating than you. The doctors won't advocate the way you will, the therapists and all that. And it's just it's what we've been doing this whole time. And we're just doing it in a different way. I also think people underestimate the fact of how far homeschool curriculum has come, and how we have teachers' books. Like, I don't have to know the information before I teach it. I just have to read. Like, if you can read,
absolutely,
you're good.
Something that's not many people know about me, but I was homeschooled for 1 year.
Okay.
In 1984.
Okay.
I was something years old. But my mom, she was kind of forced into homeschooling by people in her church. And at that time, homeschooling was kind of illegal. I mean, there were not many people homeschooling at all. And if they did wear the denim jumpers and have 20 goats outside, and I mean, made their own cheese.
Yeah.
stuff like that, you know, the stereotypical homeschooling people. And I remember the curriculum that we had, and now I think how far homeschooling has come, and it's very mainstreamed.
Mm-hmm.
But we can take curriculum now that is meant for like a typically developing child and make it so that child who has learning difficulties understands it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, it's the resources available to you now for just homeschooling
Mm-hmm.
is incredible.
Yeah.
What I found when I was actually researching one night, as you do, laying in bed on your phone, and you know, doing research and playing games. And I just kind of Googled home, you know, special needs conferences, because I was curious. I wanted, you know, we could talk homeschooling all the time, but there's, when you add special needs into it, it's a different kind of animal.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And so that search turned up nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing, nothing live, nothing online. And I was like, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, because I know the reason I started homeschooling my daughter was because of the dyslexia, and her needs were not being met in public school. And Sam was the same way. I started homeschooling him because he was being bullied in public school. So it just, when the Lord led this conference, put this conference literally on my head one night, and then I researched it, I was blown away by the lack of resources for homeschooling special needs kids as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I put this, put the word out into a blogging group, you know, thinking about doing this, it was like I was attacked by, you know, so many people were like, yes, do that.
Yeah.
I want to speak at that. And so the response to this from the homeschooling blogging community, as well as the homeschooling community in general, has just been fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it is, like I said, it's been much needed for a long, long time. I think
Yes.
one question I get asked all the time is, you know, what's a good special needs homeschooling curriculum? And the thing is, there probably is some out there that claims to be, but in general, there is no such thing as homeschooling special needs curriculum. And really, it's about finding what works for your kid. And working at the pace of your child, you know, and I think that's an
secret. There's no curriculum in public school for a special needs child.
This is very true.
You know, so there is nothing. I mean, even public school teachers have to wing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're pulling stuff off education.com.
Mm-hmm.
They're pulling stuff off teacherspayteachers.com. And so I figure if they can do that, I can do that too. I have a printer. But,
exactly. You know, and I think that we have to realize that we have to stop putting our kids in a category in the sense of, you know, special needs, they need special resources, and instead think about more that specializing, that individualizing that you were talking about. Absolutely. And going, I mean, for me, for instance, my daughter with juvenile arthritis, her hands get tired. She cannot do a ton of writing, especially in a row. So we do her lessons in like 15-minute increments all throughout the day. And we take 45-minute breaks and come back and do 15 minutes. And she is younger grade, but that's how we individualize. It's not even so much about the curriculum as much as it is about the modifications that we make to it, or getting to pick the kind of curriculum that won't exhaust her physically. Right. So I think there's a lot out there for parents who are considering it. So what's been one of your favorite parts about homeschooling your kids with special needs?
Seeing the light bulb go off, you know, and being there for that moment when they grasp when Laura especially grasped a concept and she gets it. Mm-hmm. Or she, since she has dyslexia, spelling is so hard for her. But then when she spells something correctly and she has worked it out in her mind how to spell it, and, you know, the joy of it, that I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
had she been in public school when that happened, I would have missed that blessing.
And I think
But
sometimes we forget that those light bulb moments can't come, those aha moments can't come without struggle before it. Because it's not an
absolutely.
aha moment if it's easy. And
Well,
so I
the
think,
light bulb moment is sweeter with the
yeah,
struggle.
yes. And we have to remind ourselves when we're in that moment that we're really struggling and chewing on the same concept for the millionth time, that
Yes.
eventually we will get to enjoy that aha moment and celebrate it for what it is. But understand we have to have some struggle to
Yes.
enjoy it. So I think it's an important part of it. What do you think has been the biggest challenge with homeschooling kids with special needs?
Um, Keeping her attention, just, keeping her attention when things get hard, when it's a little bit more difficult, and just keeping her to push forward, push through something. But I'm reminded that that would have happened in public school too,
Yeah.
you know, but not wanting to give up my own self due to her struggle, and just say, okay, you know what? Reading your history assignment is not working today. So let's go to the couch. Let me read it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go back and you reread the passage, and then you do the questions.
Yeah.
And it's those like slight adjustments in the day that really helps,
Yeah.
but it's just, I love homeschooling because it gives you that flexibility to make course corrections in the matter of a day.
Yeah.
And if she wakes up with a migraine, that day's, gone. We're not going to do homeschool. We're just going to sit quietly and I'll read to you, or you don't even have to have that. Just go lie down in your room. But it gives us the flexibility of those. And it's like, sometimes if she has a migraine day, like during the week, she'll wake up Saturday morning and say, can I do some math? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. But, but it's just really incredible opportunity to see the light bulb moments come up and to work through those problems together.
Yeah, totally. I would agree with that 100%. And I think sometimes the lack of direction can be frustrating. I think when you're not sure, okay, what's next? When your kid is not following the stereotypical schedule or whatever, which I really encourage homeschoolers to throw that out the window and stop worrying about being caught up. But when you get caught up in that, because as moms we all do, I think it's good to remember that to be a student of your student and to start observing and going, okay, this is a problem, this is a puzzle, let's figure it out. What can we try? And there's nothing wrong with trying a bunch of things and it not working, because you got to get there, right? And I think it's good for our kids to see problem solving skills mimicked for them. To see us fail and to see us succeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are some tips that you would give those who are considering homeschooling right
now? I would say, just like you said, be a student of your student. Know what, if they have, let me back up. Say this like I'm an intelligent person. If your autistic child especially has a special interest, like my son's special interest right now, or it used to be trains. I think every autistic kid has to go through the trains, Thomas the Tank Engine phase. But right now it's, even at 25 and a half years old, he's into Edison and Tesla and inventions and stuff like that. But I think it's really good for you to use those special interests and build on them and use them to teach other things. Like, for example, let's go back to trains. All right, if you have a special needs child and he or she likes trains, you can do physics with trains, science, history with trains. You can do math with trains. Like if you had 20 elephants. How many, and with 4 elephants on each train car, how many train cars would it take to, haul the elephants to the circus? Something silly like that. And your kid can figure that out.
Yeah.
If it's all about trains, he's more apt to look at it and do it. Like my daughter, a year ago, I think it was, she was really into horses. I mean, like major. So we found this place nearby that would do horseback riding lessons. That counted as PE, unbeknownst to me. But she went through the whole thing of grooming and taking care of the animal. And one day, just on a lark, I went into this dollar store near my house, and they had a little workbook, like a coloring book, but it had stickers in it and stuff like that too. But it was all about horses. And I was like, unit study.
Yeah.
Unit study. And so she learned so much about horses through this unit study and the horseback riding lessons. And it was a phenomenal thing. She just wanted to read every book about horses. The Chinchilla horse thing. And I mean, it was amazing. So I would encourage homeschool parents to, let the child discover more about their special interests. If they have a special interest about the Civil War, for example, that's incredible. That's a gift to you as a homeschooling parent. I guess secondly, the second thing I would say to homeschooling parents would be have grace. Have grace with your child. Have grace with yourself. As hard as it is parenting a special needs child, it's hard on the kid too.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating for them. It's just, so have grace with them. And sometimes we just don't feel like doing the dishes, I mean, they're always there. They multiply in the middle of the night. Or you clean a kid's bedroom and suddenly you have a sink full of dirty dishes. But sometimes they just don't feel like working either. And on those days, it's like Laura has had those days where she just did not want to do another math page in her book. And so I would put on YouTube videos on the lessons that she was learning in math. And, you can have downtime like that.
Yeah, totally. We take a lot of mental health days around here.
Oh, you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to remember that even in public school, they might go to school like here. It's, 8 o'clock to 2:30. Okay, that's the homeschool day, not homeschool, public school day for elementary schools here, where I live in North Carolina. That entire time is not totally academic. You have recesses in there. You have trying to teach 30 kids at one time. That doesn't work out well. You have assemblies, you have library days, you have all these things. They do not do 8 hours of total instruction. So we cannot expect our homeschool kids to sit still and be taught for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, keep your expectations realistic.
Yeah. And I think we have to remember too that like a lot of public school kids and kids in private school even, they go to school for those 8 hours and then they come home and do homework on top of it.
Yes.
And it's a lot of work. And I think we have to remember to, that for our kids, sometimes I know it can be tempting and go, oh, I wish I could just put them on the bus and they could go off to school and come home or whatever. But that's a lot of stress on them. I mean, just think about what your child goes through on a normal day without any of that. And I always tell people, I'm like, with my kids, one of the things my son struggled with when we put him in private school was with having autism, socialization was a hard thing. And he had to work so hard at socializing that it took away his energy and his attention from academics. Right. So his mind was either one or the other. He couldn't he couldn't multitask both. And so actually pulling him home, he's like, school time, I can, really focus in, zero in, get it done. And then it's like, okay, now it's friend time and I can focus on you. He has better social relationships and better school.
Right,
Because we're not
absolutely.
pulling all these different dynamics into things, especially in high school, when you add all the middle school even now with all the
Oh, yeah,
drama and all the
absolutely.
it's helpful for our kids to be able to just focus, just like with us. It's helpful for us to
Yeah,
focus on one thing at one time.
sure.
So yeah, I just would encourage any of you guys out there who are considering or who are homeschooling special needs to keep it up. If this is what God's called you to do, he will equip you for it. I promise you that. That's a guarantee. If you are looking for more resources, please, please, please check out this homeschool online convention. I love the fact that it's online. We don't have to find childcare. You don't have to sit down and, binge watch it a whole day. You can take it bite by bite. There's, like I said, resources from beginning to high school and beyond, I think even.
Yeah.
What do you do after high school? And I love the fact that I can just keep rewatching the parts that are applicable to those particular years. So be sure to check out that link down below. And again, I will post all of Terri's her book and her blog and all of that information down there because you guys are going to want to check out more from her. Thank you so much, Terri, for being
Oh,
on
you're
here.
welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
It was really fun, and I hope this has been an encouragement to you moms, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.